Good evening and welcome to this meeting of Melton Borough Council. Evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Microphones. Councillors and officers are reminded to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. Electronic voting. Tonight we'll be using the electronic voting system. This means that votes will be carried out via the microphone handsets. When voting is taking place, you'll be given 3 options: yes, abstain and no. And there will be 3 buttons flashing beneath the options. When the voting is open, please select the corresponding button in order to register your vote. I would now like to invite the Reverend Dr. Mary Barr to offer prayers for this evening.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation to open the meeting with prayer. Lord God, as we gather here for this annual general meeting of Melton Borough Council, we give thanks for all that has been good in the past year, and for the dedicated service of Councillor Alan Hewson and Jane as Mayoress, and for those who have assisted in Alan's time as Mayor, including those councillors who have now finished their period of service. And we pray for Councillor Tim Webster as he is welcomed into his new role as Mayor of the Borough of Melton, and for Sally, and for all those elected to serve as councillors for the coming year, and for the council staff supporting them in this locality. We pray that all may exercise wisely and faithfully the responsibilities entrusted to them. And we ask you to bless the life of the town of Melton Mowbray and the surrounding villages. And as we do that, we pray too for our nation in this election year. And we also pray for peace in the wider world, especially those places where violent conflict or natural disaster cause so much suffering. We pray for strength and wisdom for all, locally, nationally and globally, who work to promote the welfare of all people. This we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Mason and Councillor Pritchett. Can any member wishing to give apologies for another member indicate if they wish to do so? Councillor Child.
Yes, Councillor Brown is stuck in traffic on the motorway and may not arrive or may not get to us in time. Thank you.
Thank you. Therefore, I can confirm that we have 24 members present in the meeting and all apologies noted. Minutes. to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on 18th of April 24. I propose the minutes are moved, and I have a proposer, please? Councillor Olnett, thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Glanter, thank you. Do members have any comments to make in relation to the accuracy of the minutes? Councillor Gordon.
Yes, thank you. And I found myself this afternoon in front of the Standards Committee when it comes up. And I think that the words that I spoke at the last full council
Point of order.
in the minutes
Point of
to
order.
make it official.
Just a point of order.
Yeah.
As yeah. Just a point of order, Mr. Mayor. As the current chair of standards, we have to be a bit careful of that. So we can't talk about standards, I don't think, here while we've got standards members here, if that's okay. I'm happy to defer to the monitoring officer on it then.
So, Councillor Gordon, any comments will be noted, but the minutes are not a verbatim record of the meeting, and the points raised were not relevant for the agenda this evening. No,
You've ruled.
That's it. Thank you. Do any other members have to make any comments on the minutes, please? No. We will now proceed to a vote then, please. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you to choose either for, against, or abstain. That's 23 to 1, so it's been carried. Thank you. Declarations of interest. If any members would like to indicate that they have an interest to declare, could they please do so by raising their hand? Any other registrable interest in respect of Councillor Joe Orson is taken as being on record for any matters that relate to Leicestershire County Council. No. Thank you. Mayor's announcements. Right. As it's not that long since we were sitting here, there's not a lot for me to add on this piece, but there was the Deputy Mayor went to the Stamford Civic Parade and Service. Thank you very much. There was the St George's Day Parade, which the weather wasn't brilliant first thing in the morning, and some people got rained off, some people decided to come, but over and all, it was a really nice service and parade. The men's cycle race, that did get cancelled because of the weather conditions were too bad for them to actually race. Then last Sunday, we went to the 80th D-Day service and parade in Melton. That was really well attended. It was nice to go around, talk to a lot of the people, the reenactors and everybody around there were all saying what a nice place and venue it was to come to. And they all actually praised Melton for its, because they felt safe being here. And I thought that was really nice to hear. It was nice for me also to just have, I'll better mention this as somebody's going to say it, an outgoing mayor to actually have a ride on a trailer with some bales on it, I thought was quite fitting for myself. And the events for the year, we did 61 events and 12 events for the deputy mayor, and to date for my charities is £12,536.84. Honorary Aldermen, guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen, in these last 2 years have passed so quickly, although I feel a degree of sadness is coming to an end. It would be good to have some time to ourselves for a change, especially at weekends. I'd especially like to thank my wife, Jane, for all the support and encouragement throughout the term of office. It does take up a lot of your time and weekends and family life, but it's really well if you enjoy it while it's here and make the best of it. That's my thank you for that. The Mayoress and I found it hugely rewarding experience and been very grateful for all the opportunities to meet so many different interesting people and visit such a variety of different places. And these memories will stay for a long time. We particularly enjoyed and benefited from meeting other civic heads in Leicestershire and neighbouring districts. And you get to meet different people and make friends for life on these special events. There have been many highlights in my 2 years of office. I think the proudest moment is the Platinum Jubilee celebrations in May 22, although this sadly followed by the Queen's death. But then to read out the King's Proclamation is something that not many mayors will ever get the chance to do. On this final day of office as mayor, I wish to thank all the people, organisations, the businesses of Melton Borough who continue to welcome and support the role of the mayor in our community. All invitations to the mayor are important as something has thought it's worthwhile to do and invite. I would like to thank the councillors, past and present, for their support and extend my appreciation to officers and staff of this council for their help and advice during the year and pulling me out of situations when I've perhaps been a little late occasionally. But yes, it's been really good to have the staff and support throughout those 2 years. I'd especially like to express my thanks to Melise Graham, who stepped down this time after 37 years as a ward councillor, and his guidance and advice both at council and as mayor role has been invaluable, as from other ex-councillors who've stood as mayor, and the thank you for that advice and experience. I'd also like to pass on my thanks to Reverend Mary Barr from St Mary's Parish Church, Pastor Neil Swettingham from the Melton Vineyard Church, and the Reverend Ruth Simpson, Superintendent Minister at Melton Mowbray Methodist Circuit, who have guided and assisted me on numerous occasions, including the Christmas Carol service, Armed Forces Fly the Flag service, and saying prayers at full council. Thank you. I would like to pass my thanks and appreciation to the support of the Royal Air Force Cadets from the 1279 Melton Mowbray Squadron for assisting me at the Armed Forces events during the year. And I think this is something that, Tim, if you can carry that on, it's a real privilege to go and see. I wish the incoming Mayor, Councillor Tim Webster, and his consort, Mrs Sally Ann Webster, an enjoyable and rewarding year, and make the best of it and enjoy it. On behalf of Jane and myself, thank you all for giving us the privilege of being Mayor and Mayoress for Melton Mowbray throughout those 2 years. Thank you. Election of Mayor. We'll now elect the Mayor for the period until the annual meeting in 2025. Do we have any nominations? Proposal from Councillor Allnett.
Yes, I'd like to propose Councillor Tim Webster with great pleasure.
And a seconder, please.
Yes, I would like to second Councillor Tim Webster. Thank you.
Are there any other nominations? Phew. We'll now proceed to a vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you and choose either for, against, or abstain. I can confirm that's unanimous. Thank you. And I can confirm that Councillor Webster is Mayor for Melton, Borough of Melton until annual meeting 2025. We'll now proceed to the investiture of the Mayor and Mayoress.
Councillor Webster will now sign the declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Councillor Tim Webster, having been elected to the office of Mayor of Melton Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
And as the incoming Mayor, Councillor Webster will now present Councillor Hewson with the past Mayor's medallion.
Medallion.
You deserve two of these, really, don't you? Congratulations. Thank you. Distinguished guests, fellow councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, may I thank my fellow councillors, my poser, Councillor Pip Elnett, and seconder, Councillor Ronan Brown, for their support and trust they have placed in me for the election of the Mayor of Melton Borough Council. I wish to pay tribute to Alan and Jane, the outgoing Mayor and Mayoress, for the way in which he's carried out all his numerous duties over the past 2+ years, above and beyond. That's all I can say on that. It's been a pleasure for me and Sally Ann to serve as your deputies for the last year, representing yourselves on several occasions throughout the year, and we thank you for your help, advice and support in preparing us for our year as Mayor and Mayoress of the Borough of Melton. Thank you. Can we please receive a vote of thanks for the retiring Mayor and Mayoress? Do we have a proposer? Councillor Glancy.
Thank you, Mayor. That's the first person that said that. Thank you. I would like to personally thank, and on behalf of the independent group and this council, to give a huge vote of thanks to the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Alan Hewson, and your consort, Mrs. Jane Hewson. Alan first became Mayor in 2022, when he thought he was only going to be doing it for 1 year. During that time, he put his heart and soul into the role and represented this council and borough at a way too many functions to mention. He must have enjoyed that year of being in the limelight, as lo and behold, he stepped into the breach in May 2023, at a time when no doubt you will all recall there were some uncertainties due to the loss of Conservative seats, and there was no overall majority to run this council. Alan saved the day, and I'm sure we're all thankful for that, by volunteering to continue as Mayor for another year. It was a huge commitment for you both and a great help to us all. Alan, you've been a constant reminder of what is good about this council. As I've already said, putting your heart and soul into the role, and I would like to personally thank you for that. During your time in office, you have raised over £12,500 for your two chosen charities, Dove Cottage and Lauros. The £12,500 was raised through various events, the Platinum Jubilee, quiz nights, carol concerts, the Fat Stock Show, and personal contributions. You will be leaving a positive legacy for the new Mayor, and I wish him luck. He has big shoes to fill. I saw a photograph of one of your last events you attended. You've already mentioned this evening. It was at the 40s weekend where you and Jane were sitting on the back of a tractor and trailer. What a very fitting reminder of your passion for farming. I will send you a copy of the photograph if you like. Welcome back to the fold, Alan. It'll be good to see you at meetings again after tonight, and thankfully you will have more personal time to enjoy your family and to do all the things you've had to put on hold for the past 2 years. Big thank you to Alan and Jane.
Do we have a seconder?
Mr. Mayor, I'm very pleased to second the proposal.
It's noted. Thank you, Ben. Thank you all again. Myself and my wife, Sally Ann, are honoured to have the opportunity to promote all that is best in the borough and the town of Melton Mowbray and all they have to offer. I can promise you that I wear this chain with great pride, and I pledge to uphold the dignity and honour that the position demands. And I look forward to serving and promoting all that is best within the borough and the town of Melton Mowbray. Having come from a Melton family, born and bred, anyone who knows me, I am very passionate about Melton and will champion Melton wherever possible to my best ability. I'd like to introduce my charities for the year, and the first one I'd like to ask to come forward is the Beaver Cricket and Countryside Trust. Can I invite Michael Cook and Neil Atkin to come forward to make a little presentation about the charity? Everyone knows me, I was a keen cricketer, and I just want to give a bit back to cricket and countryside issues. Over to you, Neil.
Hi, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Tim on becoming Mayor, and also give massive thanks to him from the Beaver Cricket Trust for choosing us as one of his charities. Excuse me. I'm the Director of Operations at the Trust, and we have Michael with us, who's the community fundraiser. Our aim is to inspire children into a healthy, active lifestyle through sport and education. We're just going to show a short video for you to give a picture of the Trust and the activities that we do.
The Beaver Cricket and Countryside Trust has been making a difference for over a decade to the lives of young people across the region, including those that are disabled or from disadvantaged backgrounds. Our mission is to encourage healthy and active lifestyles, supporting young people to develop physical skills through sport, and encourage an appreciation of countryside education that can influence their whole life. Our programs support the regeneration of local communities, many of which are disadvantaged. Since our formation, over 30,000 young people and hundreds of volunteers from across the region have benefited from the life-changing programs of the Trust. Our Trust's activities are aimed at tackling the health risks associated with disadvantage and obesity. We encourage participants to engage in sport, which has a wider impact on their families and communities through improved overall health and well-being. Get involved with the Belvoir Cricket and Countryside Trust.
So a few facts and figures. Last year, we worked with over 4,200 young people within across our 5 programs, including 900 children with special needs. We run a Teach Cricket and Teach Basketball program in 21 primary schools and 2 inner city schools at Nottingham, teaching 50 classes of 3 weeks curriculum sport. And then we do also 7 community sessions that's linked to the Teach Crickets and Teach Basketball sessions in and around Melton schools and in schools in the Vale. We run a special needs programme in 19 schools, teaching quick cricket and table cricket. In the summer, we run our biggest programme, which is our Cricket and Countryside Days, where we run 20 mainstream school days and 7 disability school days. Basically, they take part cricket in the morning and then they do countryside activities in the afternoon, ranging from archery, birds of prey, seeing the sheepdogs in action, meeting a gamekeeper, meeting local farmers, beekeeper come down and does a beekeeping display, and then sometimes we get the hounds to visit, which the kids absolutely love. Last summer, we reached 1,600 children from schools in that project, also 100 from special needs schools. Alongside those 4 projects, I also teach through the Trust. I teach in 2 local primary schools, teaching Crowson and Wymondon all through the year. And we also deliver holiday sports schemes. They're the facts and figures. One story I'd like to share with you is one time we were doing in February this year, I went into a school, Ashfordby, Captain's Close. We were doing a Teach Basketball session. We set up a shooting drill and there was the PE assistant working with a child separately. So we involved this child into the shooting drill, gave her a few snippets of help every time she shot. And after about 6 or 7 goes, she scored a basket and all the class cheered. And she was blind. And it was an incredible moment that just makes the job that I do fantastic. She is now attending each week our cricket sessions that we run at Ashfordby, our community sessions, and every week she amazes us because these people are so incredible. Okay, so that's the sort of facts and figures quickly about the Trust. Michael's going to finish off for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. The charity is run by the full-time equivalent of just 2.7 people. So we have the support of about 50 volunteers, which is why we can do so much and give such good value for money. Now, we try and deliver all our projects either free or at very low cost, so no child misses out. But obviously to do that, we need to do a lot of fundraising, which is why we're incredibly grateful that Tim and Sally have chosen us as one of their 2 charities. We write about 100 funding bids every year. We run a Friends of scheme for regular donations, which you'll have on your desks. And we host a number of fundraising events too. So on your desk as well, there's notice of the next one, which is an orienteering festival and family fun day. It's in exactly a month's time, to which you are all invited. So do come and visit us, because the next 12 months really do promise to be very exciting for us as a charity, because we're starting to replace the old pavilion, which we use as a base at Nipton, with a new multi-purpose building with flexible space, so we can host year-round school visits, and it will be open for community use. So that is a transformative project which over time will help us double the number of children we reach, give them opportunities to be active and to grow, and to learn about the countryside and cherish our borough, your borough's rural heritage. Thank you.
A big thank you to Michael and Neil. They're having to rush off to join Darren Bicknell and the chief exec of the charity and other members of the team. They're hosting a dinner at Beaver Castle this evening for the charity with guest speakers David Gower and Sir Alistair Cook, I believe. I'm ashamed I can't be there because I want to do the auction for you tonight, but I can't be in two places. But I wish you all well and thank you very much. Thank you. My second charity I'm going to support this year is Prostate Cancer Support Group. I'd like to invite Bob White to come forward to make a quick, well, not quick, but a 5-minute presentation. I'll say a few words while he's coming down. This charity is close to my heart, as a few years ago, my dad, Ron, who is with us this evening, was diagnosed with prostate cancer, which came as a massive blow. But this charity held his hand and many others throughout their traumatic treatment, supporting individuals and families with both mental and physical challenges they faced. And I was there when he rang the bell.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. As Tim's rightly said, I'm Bob White. I'm a local boy and I run the local support group for Prostate. Kind of first of all, thank Melton Borough Council for inviting me tonight, much appreciated. And particular thanks to the Mayor Tim and the Mayoress Sally for choosing us as one of your charities. Really appreciate it. I think most of you will be aware of the national charities for prostate cancer. Prostate Cancer UK, there's another organisation called Tackle. They're the big organisations, but we find as we go around, and we've been doing this for a long time now, not many people locally have heard of our charity Prostate. Can I ask, has many of you heard of it, apart from those that visit us? That's what we find. So yeah, there's a few people know of us. But basically, I'll tell you about the charity in a moment, but I'll start with the bad news, really. And I don't want to frighten too many men in the room, but over 12,000 men every year die of prostate cancer. It's a startling fact. Over 52,000 men are diagnosed every year with prostate cancer. 1 in 8 men will get prostate cancer at some time in their life. And I guess a lot of you probably won't know, but 1 in 4 black men will get prostate cancer. Double the risk in black and African Caribbean men. 1 man dies every 45 minutes. So that's the bad news. Let's get that out of the way. It's horrible stats, really, but we can do something about it. And this is part of the reason that I sort of helped this charity with a local support group. I'll talk about the support group in a minute, but one of the things that struck me, because I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about 13 years ago now. My prostate cancer was found by accident, and I'm eternally grateful to the surgeon that found it because I wouldn't have known about it otherwise. And it struck me in later years that it's one of the key things with prostate cancer with men. If you can detect it early before it's spread out of the prostate, in other words, get yourself tested, you can do plenty about it. There are plenty of treatments. I'll talk about those later. But once it's spread out of the prostate, your prognosis is not good. Okay, so it's a key issue about getting tested. And it's all about awareness, really, of men and educating men. That's my opinion. I'll talk about the charity. So it's just completely funded by donations and gifts, this charity. It's been running for about, 2006, I think it was first formed. It was formed by 3 men who had been through prostate cancer themselves, had no kind of support whatsoever, didn't really know where to turn for any kind of help and support. So decided to form Prostate. And that's how it started. 2 other guys are still running the charity now. One of them is actually the lead man that fundraises for the charity. He's an ex-salesman. He's got that knack of being able to cajole money out of chief executives of companies and the like. So he's a godsend to the charity. So it's well funded, but you know, we need more money basically. One of the things that I need to tell you is where we operate. It started as just a Leicestershire charity, then it spread into Rutland. Because we've got a good relationship with the consultants and urologists at Leicester, they've got a great relationship with Northampton hospitals. We've now spread, or some years ago, into Northamptonshire. The charity is also looking at Lincolnshire. We were approached by a lady from Lincolnshire Cancer Trust who said there is no support for any men in Lincolnshire at all, no support groups whatsoever. So we're now looking at trying to get Lincolnshire on board as well. We don't want to spread too far because it's a local charity, and I think it should remain that way. What we do, we've got 5 prostate cancer support nurses in Leicestershire, based at the General Hospital, and they're absolutely fantastic. I can't sing their praises enough. We've got a head nurse called Jo Wortley, who runs the 4 other nurses. And what our charity does is actually pays part of their salary for the NHS. So they're part funded by Prostate. Might seem a little odd, but it works well because I like to say that they're part of what I call the prostate family. So we've got instant access to prostate cancer nurses. And we run 5 support groups. So I run the Melton Mowbray support group. I say I, but I do it along with my wife, Jane, who's over there, who needs the same credit for doing what she does. And I value her support greatly. So we've got a Melton group. We've got one at Birstall, which is probably about as big as the Melton group. We've got one in Leicester City, which surprisingly is quite a small group. It's basically just a few men meeting in a pub and having a drink, which seems a lot better idea than what I do, but there you go. We do a bit more of a formal group. We started with about 15 to 20 men in Melton with prostate cancer. And the reason I started it is because the head of our charity, Rob, we met him one day. I don't know if anybody saw the man bus. He used to bring a man bus to Melton and park it in the marketplace and give out leaflets on prostate cancer. And we found a great reluctance in men to come and chat about it. So we got the message out to a lot of people. And Rob said to me, I was helping him out one day, and he said, I want somebody to start a support group in Melton. Melton's got a higher diagnosis rate than anywhere in Leicestershire and beyond. And recent figures have said that Leicestershire itself, the diagnosis rate for men with prostate cancer is the highest in the country. Now, I don't know whether that's a bad thing or a good thing. It might well be that more men in Leicestershire are being made aware of the issues of prostate cancer and coming forward. And not just that they're sadly suffering from it. So as I say, we run these other groups. There's, like I say, Leicestershire. We've now got one in Northamptonshire, and we've battled to get one up with the Black and African Caribbean community in Leicester. We eventually got a lady to start one, would you believe? She was a force of nature. Unfortunately, she passed away with breast cancer herself a year or so ago. But we're trying to get her husband to continue running the group. What the African Caribbean men in Highfields in Leicester do, they have a domino session every Friday. And the only way to get at them in terms of talking about prostate cancer is to go to the domino session and talk to them while they're playing. So that's what she did, and she was very successful. So that's the groups. My group, our group in Melton, we're going for 8 years now. We're in our 8th year. And still a lot of people don't know that we exist. But we do awareness and education as much as we can. As I say, to me, it's all about getting to men to be aware that they need to be tested. And I don't know how many of you guys would know this, but everybody over 50 is entitled to a PSA test, which is the blood test that will find your prostate cancer, hopefully. The problem with the PSA test is it's not wholly accurate. It's about 60% accurate. So it can give false negatives. And GPs have had a reluctance over the years to give men the test because they worry that they might not have cancer, but worry them unnecessarily. That makes sense. I understand that. But we're now getting to the point where there is a new PSA test on its way anytime, hopefully soon, which is, I'm told, is 90% plus accurate. And that will be a game changer for everybody. Also, there's research going on in the country at the moment in terms of a different way of diagnosing prostate cancer. Instead of going through the normal rigmarole and going for various tests, blood tests, then off to a consultant for a biopsy, which I've had, is not a nice procedure and it can be dangerous as well. So it's not an ideal situation. They're now looking, they found that a quick MRI scan for about 15 minutes, if men are sort of referred by their GP with what you might consider are possibilities of prostate cancer, maybe getting up to urinate in the night too many times, that kind of thing. But sometimes there are no symptoms, so it's a bit of a guessing game. But they're looking at actually doing this MRI scan now. And it's the reason prior to this why there's not been national screening for men with prostate cancer like there was for ladies with breast cancer. It's because the test is inaccurate and it would create a whole lot of men worrying unnecessarily. Okay. The new system, as I say, with the MRI scan, again, is a game changer. So we're getting on in leaps and bounds in terms of prostate cancer at the moment. So our group started, as I say, nearly 8 years ago with about 15, 20 people. We're now up to 60 and beyond. I'm not quite sure whether you consider that a good thing or a bad thing, but it's nice that what happens is a man gets diagnosed at Leicester General Hospital. The prostate nurses, because they're part of the charity's family, if you like, they immediately get referred to one of the nurses. They're given a package of all of the treatments on offer for them in terms of their particular prostate cancer, but also referring them to their nearest prostate cancer support group. So that way, I mean, 1 month, a few months ago, we had 5 new members just turn up. Some who rung me in advance because obviously my name and numbers on the contact sheet, but quite often they just turn up. And as I say, the group is growing exponentially at the moment. Just briefly, my story is, again, it's about the PSA test. I just had a PSA test and mine was 1.9. So any of you chaps that know about what the test should be, anything below about 5, you're absolutely fine. It doesn't indicate you've got prostate cancer. I had to go for an op down below, Waterworks, and had what they call a TURPS operation. So they go up your urethra and core a bit of the prostate away, because the prostate, as men get older, squeezes the urethra, and you can't wee properly. I had that. Went home, recovered, no problem. 2 weeks later, my consultant rang me and he said, "You better come and see me. You've got prostate cancer." I said, "Well, how can I have it?" Well, my PSA is 1.9. But talking to a consultant later, he said, "I've got a man came to see me yesterday. His PSA was 1,000." So everybody was panicking in terms of prostate cancer. It wasn't at all. It was an infection. So you see what I'm saying about the test being so inaccurate. So we're desperate now to get the new test and get it up and running. So what do we do? At Melton Support Group, as I say, 8 years on now, we've got a great relationship with all of the urologists, oncologists, consultants, and the prostate cancer nurses, all at Leicester hospitals. Every month we have a guest speaker come, and generally it's to talk about prostate cancer. So we've got the surgeons, we've got the people who deal with radiotherapy, hormone treatment, end-of-life care. You name it, they've all been to the group. And when you think we've been doing it for 8 years, I'm sure there's 1 or 2 here who'll testify tonight. You've heard it all before. And we get the same speakers come, a couple of years later. But with new guys coming in all the time, it pays. They need to hear it. So we've got this fantastic relationship with all of the urology department and beyond, particularly with the prostate cancer nurses, as I say. I think that's primarily it, really. We meet on the first Wednesday of every month regularly at Melton Baptist Church on the outskirts of town. And like I say, we have a speaker there every month. Sometimes we'll have a different kind of speaker to lighten the load, because you don't want to hear about prostate cancer when you're suffering from it all the time. So we do have outside speakers, and we've had some very good ones. Just one of the other things that we do at the group. So when we got a new chap come in, he's just been diagnosed. And if it's like, I remember back to mine nearly 14 years ago now, I was told, "You've got prostate cancer." I thought I've got a death sentence. I thought I'm going to die, because that was how I felt at that time. It's not true. Like I say, if you can capture the prostate with cancer within the prostate, you can live a full life. Here I am 14 years on, so I should consider myself living proof. But there are things you can do. So we get guys that turn up at just been diagnosed and come to the group, and they've got all their options before them, and it's a real choice now between having an operation. They do robotic surgery, which I had 14 years ago, but it wasn't available in Leicester then. I had to go to Addenbrooke's in Cambridge for mine. But we've now got the robot in Leicester. It's been running for several years. So one option is have the prostate removed by robotic surgery. Another option is radiotherapy. And there are some fantastic developments in radiotherapy treatment, including a thing called brachytherapy, which radiates the prostate from within. I won't bore you with the details, but as I say, there are so many treatments now. Like I say, if you capture it early, you can live with it, and you'll probably die of something else and not die with prostate cancer. You'll die with it, not of it, sorry. But one of the things I say, when the guys come to us new, we buddy them up. We have what we call a buddy scheme. So anybody that's looking at maybe going for radiotherapy of a particular kind, if we've got somebody in the group that's been through the same thing, or even at one of the other groups, we buddy them up, and they'll go and have a coffee, sit and have a chat. It helps. And that's the whole point of the support group. Well, that's it really. That's me. There's literature on your desk, and I've got more literature afterwards. If anybody's interested, come and see me. But can I just thanks, Tim and Sally particularly, for choosing prostate as one of your charities, Tim. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Bob. Thank you. Thank you, Bob, for that thorough presentation. Gentlemen, please get checked. That's all I can say. Hear what Bob said there. Right. I'm sure these charities are well known to you, and I all hope you agree that they deserve the support we can give. I ask you all for your generosity and support throughout my fundraising events during the memorial year. Look out for quizzes with auctions, and I've also sorting out a daytime disco at Tubes. 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 at night. So all ages welcome. You play your genre music. I'm afraid yours, Councillor Ornett, might. Right, we'll carry on. Also take this opportunity, Mr. Richard Griffiths came down from Samworth Brothers, Dixon Morris. He produced a ceremonial pork pie for the new mayor, which you'll be able to sample later with a light buffet at the back. And I think this will be a great thing to bring Melton together. Each year the mayor will get a pork pie. It's all at the back there, you'll see it. One last thing, I've already accepted 8 invitations to events over the next few weeks. We'll cover these in further detail at the next council meeting on July 2024. Thank you for my election. That's it. Thank you. Moving swiftly on to the next item on the agenda, we would now like to elect the Deputy Mayor for the period until the annual meeting in 2025. Do we have any nominations?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to propose Councillor Siggy Atherton. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder?
Very pleased to second the proposal, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any other nominations? We will now then proceed to the vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you to choose either for, against, or abstain. It's carried. The outcome is 23 for and 4 abstentions. 2 abstentions. Councillor Siggy Atherton is the Deputy Mayor for the period until the annual meeting in 2025. We will now proceed with the investiture of the Deputy Mayor and the Deputy Mayor's Consort. We can ask them to come forward.
Councillor Siggy Atherton will now read and sign the Declaration of Acceptance of Office.
Thank you. I, Councillor Siggy Atherton, have been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of Melton Borough Council. Declare that I take on the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties in accordance to the best of my judgment and ability. Thank you.
A great pleasure, Siggy. I will present to you this, the Deputy Mayor of Melton Mowbray. I'm sure you'll help me out if I can't get to your events. I'm sure you'll be there. Sure, but thank you very much. I'd like to present. Siggy, there's some flowers for you as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The Deputy Mayor to give thanks for her election.
I'd like to thank everybody for nominating and voting for me. I will do my utmost to support Mayor Tim Webster in the upcoming year as Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Siggy. Now on to the agenda, item 7. Can I now invite the leader to provide his review of last year and to confirm appointments to the Cabinet and Cabinet scheme of delegation for the forthcoming year?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight we try to steer away from party politics, so I should be biting my tongue for 2 hours as we pass on the civic duties and the mayoral chains. We also celebrate 50 years of this borough council in its present form, along with the whole of English local governance. More than 50 years ago, in the wake of the Radcliffe Maud Royal Commission, I was writing, I have to say, with a fountain pen and ink, because we didn't have any computers in those days, undergraduate essays on the future of local government. It's a great irony to me that some of those ideas were then rejected, but they are now commonplace and growing in importance, namely regional devolved governance, mayoralties, and what Lord Heseltine described after the recent elections as place-based non-doctrinal local government. He also said that districts and borough councils are on the way out, so be warned. Mr. Mayor, my first task of your municipal year is to ask Council to note that the Deputy Leader, the Cabinet membership, the portfolio holders and the scheme of delegation is unchanged for the coming municipal year. Before reviewing the past year and the coming year, I wish to extend some thanks to a variety of people. First of all, obviously to Alan Hewson for his sterling work over the past year and more, supported as ever by Jane at his side. But we must not forget Helen Ainge behind the scenes and ensuring that Alan at least knew where he ought to be. And sometimes he was actually got there. Yourself, Mr. Mayor, and your escort Sally Ann for the past year and the high hopes for the coming one. Thanks to Councillor Ziggy Atherton for saying yes to the challenges ahead, and her escort, Councillor Ian Atherton, for his support. Although I did notice his voting button didn't seem to work tonight, so I hope you're not going to have a row later. Anyway, I want to make a special thanks to a group of unsung heroes. I don't know if she can hear me, maybe she can't, but it's Sarah Allen, Pat Mulligan, Gary Fisher, Stuart Bassendine Matthews, Michael Stevenson Freer and Rebecca Butler. They help to make this building tick. They're always cheerful, they're always helpful, they're the first to come to the building and the last to leave. And I'm really grateful for all the help they give us behind the scenes. I've only got one concern. I have heard a rumour that Pat Mulligan has rather too much in common with the Chief Executive, Edward de Cleverly. Now, it's not his half marathon prowess, and I certainly hope it's not his karaoke tour de force in Melton's night scene we've come to appreciate, Ed. No, it's much, much worse than that. They are both supporters of Crystal Palace. Sad, isn't it, really? On an equally sad note, I wish to thank 3 members of staff as they leave us. That's Amelia Bailey from our Community Safeties team, now joining the police service. David Hayton Hill, our Health and Active Communities, a member of our Health and Active Communities team. I got that right in the end, where he was inspirational in Let's Get Melton Moving. I understand that he's moving on to a slightly bigger role, maybe it's a much bigger role, in supporting disability and sporting opportunities. So good luck to him. Finally, the 18th of July is the last day for our Director for Economic Regeneration, Pranali Parikh, and we wish her and her whole family well as she moves on in her career. And I will say just briefly in parenthesis that the process of appointing a replacement and also an interim director from outside is underway, and members of council will be told about this much later as the opportunity arises. Mr. Mayor, we are a council with a big heart, and whenever I speak to our staff, I always emphasise that for some, Melton will be a springboard in their careers and new horizons in their life. As a good employer, we train and care for our staff, and in so doing, we not only help them, but we help to nurture our nation. Mr. Mayor, I cannot thank everyone that I ought to. I must leave something for next year, mustn't I, really? But just one large and one small group to add to my list of thank yous. The first is the many, many hundreds of our residents who week in, week out contribute to so much of life in our communities. And we've heard some of that tonight, haven't we? Most of them are unpaid, self-sacrificing and dedicated to the job in hand. Some indeed end up as councillors. Often we work together, and often they ask much more of the council, and so they should, But without this volunteer army, so much of what we value would not be possible. The second group deserving our thanks tonight, and rather topically, is just 3 people, Andrea Telford, Michelle Gilbert and Lena Shuttlewood. They are the election services team, and without their bedrock beavering away all the year round, our democracy just would not be possible. I wish to extend thanks to this team just now because I know that one of them has really been struggling with a health problem and a long NHS waiting list. Yet she has soldiered on, dedicated to the service and loyal to this council. So a big thank you to them and the wider team who ran the recent election and count for the Police and Crime Commissioner so efficiently. Melton was in fact the first to declare the result the other Friday. But it's not all good news, is it? However, congratulations to the Police and Crime Commissioner, and together with my continued cooperation and friendly advice. Actually, on a personal level, Rupert and I get on really very well, and we both have an interest in military history. So I do look forward to discussing with him the pros and cons of a Pyrrhic victory, 279 BC, Pyrrhus versus the Romans. He won the battle, but his team lost the war in a later fixture. And talking of lost causes, I ought to mention Leicestershire County Council and offer my congratulations to Councillor Orson on his elevation to chairman of that body, and good luck to you for the coming year. I feel certain that you will be able to guarantee the southern section of the Melton Mowbray Distributor Road. So I'm looking forward to working with you on that, Joe. I hope also you'll be able to help us with a few other things, and no doubt we'll talk about that in due course. Mr. Mayor, I'm now required to reflect on the past year and consider the next one. I'll do those sort of intermingled, if I may. The past year started with the tail end of the previous administration, an election with many new faces, new partnerships, and for officers, a period of upheaval and uncertainty. And I want to thank them for really putting their shoulders to the wheel and making the transition and an interesting first year relatively straightforward, actually. And when you compare it with some other councils I've heard about, I think you've done a grand job. I said a year ago that we would not throw out the baby with the bathwater, but we would change as necessary and progressively. The change theme was quickly embraced by our current Prime Minister as the change candidate, and now by the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition. So it seems that where Melton leads, Westminster follows. The past year has been one of consolidation, preparation, and focusing on both urgent issues and big ticket items, a period of steadying the ship and plotting a better course. The coming year will perforce continue some of that, but with more detail as we seek to correct the legacy of past errors and turning strategies into policies and policies into actions. And we can't do any of what we want to do without sound finance. On taking office and examining the books and listening to advice, it was clear that in the short term, our general position was stable, and I thank previous administrations for that. But in the medium and long term, it's precarious, and that's due largely to outside events and not to any decisions taken here in the past. And that's based upon our own resources and regulation and policies from central government. We, as the Cabinet, we agreed quickly not to overcommit on revenue or running cost expenditure, to minimise drawing down from reserves, seek additional funding and government grants wherever possible and at every opportunity, but with an open mind. And this approach will continue into the coming year. I need to add that the Treasury management of this council, marrying interest earned and interest paid, repayment of debt and collection of bad debt, has been outstanding, but not because of me, and the thanks go to Dawn Garton and her team. After 40 years in this sort of local government service, I haven't seen quite such a good team operating that vital service. So thank you very much to them. Debt post-COVID on the housing revenue account was too high when we came in, and the trend was worse. But by devoting more resources and energy, this is now coming down. But importantly, and I'm grateful to Councillor Hewson for urging me on this particular point at an early opportunity. In doing this, we have also been active in supporting tenants who are in financial difficulty, often with other problems. The aim is always not just to be a debt collector, but a facilitator of personal recovery. We are working with other agencies and charities to achieve this, and naturally this work will continue. Part of the financial environment is, of course, asset management, including disposal of assets. On the management side of assets, it was clear that in recent years, a record keeping and monitoring has not been up to scratch, frankly, but not because of any lack of due diligence. It's simply been that we've had insufficient staff to cope with this vital task. And the staff that have been here have been focused on many other things as well as that task. So it's not a criticism of staff, but of circumstances and to some extent policy in the past. But to be fair, that was recognised before we came into office, and the problem has been addressed. And a good start has been made, and this will continue. We have accelerated this process. It will continue alongside concomitant issues of rental and lease agreements and contract management right across the piece of this organisation. I want to thank all staff involved for this activity because it's so important, and for responding to my colleague Councillor Cox's clear, unrelenting leadership on these difficult issues. They are doing this at the same time as supporting multi-million pound projects, council housing and other new proposals, and of course many new ideas that they get thrown at by us councillors when we have a good idea when we wake up every morning. On the sale of assets, we have proceeded with the previous decision by the previous administration to sell Site A at the large area generally known as the cattle market. The general policy options for a similar disposal of Site B is on hold, pending the works for the Luff construction on Site E and D of that large area. From a practical point of view, this will be the case for the whole of this municipal year as we commence that construction later on. The trend of recent years and central government policy is that councils should dispose of assets to plug holes in budgets, but the assets also provide utility as well as one-off cash when they're sold. Whether they are green spaces or car parks, these assets are needed, so we must proceed with caution. And to quote a Conservative Prime Minister from many years ago, we must try to avoid selling off the family silver. On asset development, we have made real progress in adopting the new asset management plan. We reset the focus for a GP surgery. We rejected the scheme to provide a completely new build at Melton Sports Village campus, and we also rejected the notion of a hotel development at Parkside. The result of these efforts, and I want to thank all the officers involved in that because it's been a huge piece of work to get underway, both before we came into office and since then. This council has secured a commitment from the NHS Integrated Care Board to develop a plan for a GP surgery at Parkside. The costed business case is being developed as we speak, and we look forward to considering that proposal over the coming months. The sooner the better, as I'm sure we all agree. Surplus space at Parkside will cease to be a financial burden for this council. Local private hotels are expanding at pace without the degree of uncertainty that they had before. And bucking the national trend, we've been able to retain an improved swimming pool serving 18 school curriculums, I repeat, 18 school curriculums and several other groups. We have a 10-year contract for Waterfield and Melton Sports Village, turning a £0.8 million net loss into a £1 million gain, while being able to invest nearly £2 million in the works. Thanks to our local schools, dry sport groups affected by the changes have been accommodated. It's not perfect, but I've spoken to one key user who accepts that the changes were absolutely necessary to prevent Waterfield from closing. Contrary to mistaken expectations, the table tennis continues at MSV, and only yesterday I received praise from Birchwood School for the work of our staff, and I want that to be passed on, please. I was also very pleased when the local soft play venue, I think it's called Jungle Bugs, but it's not something I sort of frequent these days, my grandchildren having got a lot older. And we really look forward to them prospering in the town with their unique selling point. For future work at both sites is progressing on schedule for completion later this year. We will then be inviting all local groups to consider with us the shape and provision more generally across the borough and replacement facilities at the end of the 10-year contract. And I was grateful to Councillor Melise Graham for pointing out that we cannot wait around and let the grass grow under our feet before we think about the future, because it soon creeps up on us. Following the election, an early focus that we made was on increasing our engagement with local communities and making Melton a cleaner, greener place. We've delivered a number of early quick wins whilst we worked on the development of our new corporate strategy that goes into the longer term. We've been increasing the number of estate valuations and community cleanups, where officers and members have worked alongside tenants, looking at untidy properties, improving communal areas, and providing support and advice. We've undertaken community action days at St John's Court, Bradgate Flats, and more recently Beckmill Court, where there are always problems, and we have to put our mind to these local issues affecting so many people. We bring together teams, tenants, ward members, and contractors, and this programme will continue over the coming year and spread wider. We've attempted to combat environmental crimes through promoting responsible dog ownership, engaging with local businesses to ensure that they have the right arrangements to dispose of their waste, and worked with the police to work with the police on stop and search initiatives to catch unscrupulous waste carriers and fly tippers as part of our focus on rural crime. We also showed that little things matter by launching our Well-Kept Garden recognition scheme for tenants and unveiling our Letters to Heaven memorial postbox in Thorpe Road Cemetery, allowing families to send letters to those they had lost. And I'm grateful to Councillor Margaret Glancy and indeed to Councillor Simon Lumley for being involved in that little project. Amazingly, we had a large number of emails and postings of thanks and congratulations on that very small scheme. It really demonstrates that sometimes you don't need to spend a lot of money and put a lot of effort. It needs a bit of thinking. So I think that was a real plus for the year. As part of our desire to build a more collaborative council, we have quickly established new working groups to focus on the town centre and asset management programme, both of which have helped to guide the work we've been doing over the past year. I look forward to the conclusion of the governance work group to enshrine this more collaborative approach into our constitution, which is due to come back to council later this year. For the town centre, we've allocated funding from the UK SPF block grant and our resources and our own resources to invest in greening the town. We have applied recently for some help from the county council without success, and Councillor Orson, I should be looking to you for some assistance with that, so we can get a few more trees planted. We've been developing a new design guide and supporting our fantastic partners at Melton in Bloom as we collectively push for the Gold Award later this year. And I should also mention in passing, although I haven't been asked to say this, there are two other groups, the Big Group and the Melton Mowbray Town Estate, who are very much involved in all of this thinking, and I look forward to continue collaborating with both of those bodies. We've also significantly increased our focus on rural communities, holding a cost of living event in Bossersford and establishing our rural food hub, providing much needed support to those who continue to struggle financially within our villages. Alongside this, we launched a new health screening clinic for farmers at the livestock market, particularly focusing on mental health. As a council, we have provided access to more household support grants for our residents facing increased household costs than any other Leicestershire District Council, and that's a great tribute to our staff. It's covered almost 5,000 households who have benefited from this support over the lifetime of the programme. Alongside this, our community support hub based at Phoenix House has supported hundreds of residents across the borough, including nearly 600 council tenants, with a range of things such as employment, training and qualifications, substance misuse, and digital accessibility. Our digital hub at Phoenix House is in demand, and we look forward to increasing digital support across the borough through our UK SPF funding. We've had incredible success with this fund, the work and supporting work and skills projects, which has met or exceeded several of its targets and on course to exceed all by the end of the reporting period. You may recall we committed to launch a scheme for our tenants to access retail discounts on an ongoing basis, and I'm pleased to say that the initial data has been sent to the provider, and shortly we will be ready to launch this to our tenants. So please watch this space over the next few weeks. We also took our Let's Get Moving roadshow to a number of rural communities, including Bottisford, Harby, Asfordby, Waltham-on-the-Wolds, Wymondham and Long Clawson. I should have said Wymondham, shouldn't I? I lived in Norfolk for too long at the other Wymondham. Following the success of these events in October, we hosted the first Let's Get Moving Awards, which saw the council chamber filled with community and sports groups who have made a huge, I've misread that, and sports groups who have made a huge contribution to physical activity, health and well-being across the district. It was great to celebrate their success with them. I attended that one myself, and I have to say some of us were actually moved to tears by some of the stories that were told and the joy on the faces of the kids. It was such a lovely evening, and I hope that other members will attend future events of that nature. Now, work on making the best use of the Levelling Up funding continues, and as I reported to Council last time, we are in the process of finalising the planning application for the stockyard, which we anticipate will be submitted in the next month. Now, regrettably, the college have confirmed that while they are subject to intervention from the FE Commissioner, they are not in a position to utilise the £2 million Levelling Up funding that was awarded to them for the theatre. But we have reached agreement with Rutland Council that this money will be retained in Melton, and we are exploring how this could best be used to support the original aspirations of the bid, albeit in a different way. Irrespective of this, and I emphasise that, irrespective of that, we continue to work with the college and how we can support them in safeguarding the future of the theatre and educational provision within Melton. Recently, the FE Commission has launched a consultation process on the future of the college, and in conjunction with the sixth form college. And of course, we mustn't forget that later next year, the government proposed to stop the BTEC National Diploma programme. So the FE world is once again going to be experiencing quite a lot of change, and I know that many of us here do not like that particular change, and we would like to lobby and to campaign for perhaps a small return to some of the old values of FE education and its capacity for supporting people who are not by inclination very academic, but who can nevertheless take up very useful work in their communities. And I'm sure that I don't need to labour that particular point any further. As a council, we recognise we can't do it all, but working in partnership is crucial to make the best use of our resources. And sometimes the best response is to provide funding for others to deliver. And so it's been a pleasure for us to administer capital community grants totalling £147,000 and business grants from memory, because I haven't got it written down here. I think it's 3,000k over the past year. And I want to say I'm very grateful to the members, the voluntary members of the local area board, including people from the commercial world and the voluntary world, who've come in to help us oversee the allocation of those grants to ensure that everything was done above board and that nobody had any special treatment or indeed was a special ill treatment. So it's a really good process, and I'm very proud of that, bearing in mind some of the disasters that happened during COVID across this nation. Organisationally, we continue to manage our finances well, and in February we set another balanced budget and have introduced measures such as e-billing for council tax bills to increase our efficiency. We did resist proposals to draw down more money from our reserves, but that doesn't mean that we are not focused on the activities to which those proposals were aimed. We also completed the first stage of the Healthy Workplace accreditation process, showing that the council continues to focus on attracting and retaining the best possible teams we can by being a great place to work. And I think it is a good place to work, and it's been an honour and a privilege for me to see that over the past few months. We also continue to recognise the importance of civic occasions, coordinating another remembrance parade service which went off really well, and which I attended along with a few others, and I was very grateful to Councillor Atherton for his support on that day, which is well remembered, Ian. We have a relentless focus on housing quality and improvement, has continued. We're picking up where the former council left off. Over the last year, we've implemented a number of new tenant policies, refreshed our housing asset management plan. We launched a new Tenants Corner webpage and introduced a new independent living offer at Gretton Court, which is still, the jury's still out on the development of that, but we will continue with our close work with the residents and with the Friends of Gretton Court to ensure that the quality is maintained and improved. We've also replacing kitchens and bathrooms as part of a wider capital programme. We've undertaken a housing support review and acquired a number of new council homes. All this alongside making preparations for the regulatory changes and the inspections that we've had to receive. As you know, we were one of 6 councils in the country subject to the first inspections, and whilst we wait the outcome, I'm extremely proud of the way in which our teams have risen to the challenge and represented the work we have done and continue to do so well. It's really it's like an Ofsted visit on steroids, this sort of inspection, and I know the staff were very anxious, but they rose to the occasion, and I'm grateful also to members who participated, including my opposite number, Ronan Brown, coming to the first big meeting, and I'm grateful for that. So we await the outcome of the process. We continue with business as usual. They'll be visiting us again, and we will get the report in due course, and we will all get to know how well we've done. I feel certain of that. The review of our existing local plan, which runs now until 2036, is progressing well and will continue over the coming year. And as we look to the future, it is pleasing that as a council, we have set our agenda through a new corporate strategy. And I'm just going to divert because I've received some stop press news today about planning, the planning department and statistics, which I will share with councillors at a later date. But basically, it's a really good picture in terms of the speed with which we process planning applications and turn around quite substantial applications, the speed with which we deal with enforcement cases and the success rate we have. There is still room for improvement, so I'm not complacent on that. But I think, contrary to some belief, the planning department is actually outperforming itself over this current period based on those statistics, and I'll be sharing that with members and of course with scrutiny in due course, but I'm very pleased to see that information set out for me. Our strategy overall confirms our focus and our plans for the coming year, and will naturally include continuation of a number of existing work streams, including progressing the asset development programme, levelling up fund work and UK SPF investment plans, which of course is now in its 3rd and final year, unless of course the government decide to allocate more grants to us. We'll also continue our commitment to engage with our rural communities, and shortly we will be establishing 2 rural area liaison forums organised around our 2 rural county divisions, which will bring together, I hope, county councillors, ward members and parish councillors for those areas to discuss matters of local importance to all. The first meetings are due to take place in June, and invites and more details are either coming out or will be out shortly. Of course, one of the big issues which concerns us all in the town as well as in the parishes is that of flooding, which the lead authority for this is, of course, the county council, and with whom we work in partnership. Whilst our own statutory responsibilities and resources are limited, the council has played a full part, an active part, in responding to the issues caused by storms Babette and Henk over the past year. We've successfully administered flood recovery support grants to households and businesses affected. Our teams helped enable 20 affected households to receive their £500 grants, with most also receiving a 3-month council tax relief. 5 businesses received payments of £2,500 and, where relevant, also got business rate relief. I look forward to discussing this issue furthermore at the aforementioned rural area liaison forums. For my own part, early on in this administration, I sought out the views of parishes, and I had discussions with the Severn Trent Water Authority and others about the wider issues around flooding. Although we are a small player in this process, we can be a noisy player, and I intend to be noisy on this issue, and I look forward to working with parishes to raise our game on this issue. We've also been keen to follow through on our commitments to make Melton a cleaner and greener place, and we are in the process of appointing a new dedicated waste and environmental services manager to replace the previous shared arrangement with Harborough at assistant director level. This will enable a greater focus on this important area. It is fair to say that environmental quality and in the public realm was not a significant priority for this council, with limited funding allocated to it. That is a legitimate policy choice, but it is now an area we have said we now want to do more on, so we will be undertaking an evaluation of current service delivery arrangements so we can clear up what is possible within our current resources, and then consider what areas we'd like to improve so we can build that into the budgetary process going forward for next year. Also accelerating our focus on food waste collection, something which needs to be in place from April 2026. And I want to mention here something that once again Councillor Hewson raised with me some time ago, and that is the capacity to use food waste and green waste to put humus back onto farmland. And that's not just good for food production, but it's also good for water retention, which is good to help our fight against flooding. So by joining the dots up and being imaginative with the way we handle these important projects, we can shift the dial and we can make a difference to our community. I'm coming to an end, Mr. Mayor, you'll be pleased to know. We also want to maintain our focus on the town centre delivery of investments promised within the UKSPF programme, and we will be reviewing our approach to car parking more generally, and will of course embed any learning from the current housing inspection. I will conclude by saying I'm hugely humble and grateful for this opportunity to be leader of this council. It's been a pleasure to work with so many people of different political opinions, and not just within our team, but across the aisle, as they say in America. And I look forward to continuing that in the coming year.
Thank you, Councillor Olnett, for that review. We're now going to move on to item 8. I'll now invite the monitoring officer to present the report setting out the council's political balance and allocation of seats to political groups.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure that members will be very familiar with the fact that there are a number of steps we need to take at annual council. Many of those are set out in statute and are refined to an extent by our constitution. In summary, the statutory steps that we have to take are appointing certain committees. As I said, some are legal obligations, such as the scrutiny committee. Others are to implement other functions that the council has, such as licensing and planning, and of course audit and standards, those being matters that are not cabinet functions. When appointing those committees, we have to, of course, allocate seats to the members, and that has to be done in proportion to the political balance of the council. It's again a step that is set out in law, and incidentally, it might have to be revisited following the by-election, since again that is set out in law. Once those committees are appointed and the members are allocated to them, the next step is to elect chairs. Taking those matters in order, you have in front of you, in addition to what appears in the report, an additional sheet which includes the nominations from groups in accordance with the political balance calculation that is in the report. There is also a document which reflects working groups, which should be on your tables, and again reflects the wishes indicated by group leaders. And then finally, there will be an additional document in that form which sets out the nominations for the chairs and vice chairs of those committees, again as notified via the individual groups. I don't propose to go into significant detail regarding the content of the report, because I believe it's generally self-explanatory. Just to point out, there are a couple of little differences this year, which are addressed in Appendix D, which just deal with a few nuances of legislation, which explain why the report is recommending a very slightly different approach on this occasion. As I say, I don't intend to go into significant detail regarding any of the particular elements of the report, but of course I'm able to assist if members have questions regarding any aspect.
Thank you, Clive. I propose to consider recommendations 2.1 through to 2.9 on block. Do we have a proposer for the recommendations?
Mr. Mayor, I do propose the items en bloc as advised. There is some stop press information arising from a discussion between the opposition and ourselves to correct some anomalies. Sorry? I do beg your pardon. I thought you were taking it all en bloc. I apologise for that. So I retract my last statement.
Thank you.
So I'll just move the rest en bloc then.
Do we have a seconder?
Happy to second.
Thank you. I will now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. I confirm that no other members wish to speak. We'll now proceed to the vote. Again, we're using the electronic voting system in front of you. Please choose either for, against, or abstain. That's unanimous. That motion's carried. Thank you. I will now invite the monitoring officer again to present the Constitution and Officer Scheme of Delegation report. Thank you, Clive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As members will again be aware, I'm sure, it is common practice to consider any revisions to the Constitution at the annual meeting. I think it's worth qualifying that to the extent it's not the only opportunity the council has and can make changes at any time during the year. There are no significant changes proposed at this point, but of course with the carrying of the recommendations in the last report, there will be some very slight tweaks to just reflect the difference in relation to committees, which, although was addressed in that report, will be developed and implemented into the Constitution, which otherwise will remain unchanged at this stage. Picking up on a comment made by the leader a few moments ago, of course, there is ongoing work in relation to the governance structures of the council, and so that work will be progressing to come back to council later this year, at which time there may, of course, be some appropriate changes necessary to the constitution. But at this stage, it may be premature to rush into some of those matters because we don't know the shape that will ultimately take. So at this stage, it's simply a matter of asking members to confirm the Constitution in its current form with the amendments necessitated by the approval of the last item.
Thank you, Clive. Do I have a proposer?
With recommendation, Chair.
Do I have a seconder?
Peter, second.
I will now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. I can confirm there are no other members wish to speak. We'll now proceed to the vote. Again, using electronic voting system, either for, against, or abstain. The outcome is 23 votes for. Oh, 24. Any more? It's carried anyway. 25 now. It's 25 now, so it's carried anyway. Thank you. Now, again, I would like to invite the monitoring officer to present the programme of meetings 2023-24. Oh, sorry, to typo. 24-25, sorry about that. Not my typo, by the way. Over to you, Clive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report appears at page 39 of your agenda pack, and the proposed calendar of meetings itself appears at page 43. Of course, members, again, will be very familiar with this process of setting the plan for meetings over the coming year. It's possibly worth noting at this point, of course, that although approved in principle at this stage, there are circumstances which may require changes, and there are mechanisms in the Constitution with appropriate engagement of members to make changes, just for example, to cater for unexpected events, call additional meetings, extraordinary meetings, etc. So the proposal remains as in the report at page 43. And so there's no further detail really need to be considered at this stage. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address those.
Thank you, Clive. Do I have a proposer?
Happy to propose the table of meetings.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to propose. Happy to second. Thank you.
Yes, Nancy. I will now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. I can confirm that no member wishes to speak, so we'll now proceed to the vote. Again, we're using the electronic voting system. You all know what to do by now, either for, against, or abstain. That's unanimous. Motion is carried. I think it's the final agenda item. Yeah, I will now invite again the monitoring officer to present the appointment to outside bodies. Thank you, Clive.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report appears at page 47 of your agenda pack. The nominations in relation to those various positions should be on a sheet which is on your desk in front of you tonight. There is, there are two minor amendments to that. First, in relation to the Home Start Management Committee, that was not proposed before this meeting, but has now been proposed to be Councillor Helen Cliff. And then in relation to the Sir John Sedley Education Foundation, it's now been proposed that this will be the ward member for Wymondham, which of course is a vacancy to be filled in the by-election. Again, I don't propose to go into any detail of the substance of the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions members may have.
Do I have a proposer for the recommendations?
I'm happy to propose it with a slight amendment, Mr. Mayor, due to a typo. The police and crime panel is I gave that up to my colleague, Councillor Cox, in the past year, and that should continue. And the other two items you've mentioned, I think. Yeah.
Second, the document amendment.
Can I seek a seconder with the 3 amendments made?
Happy to second, including the amendments. Thank you.
I'll now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. Confirm that no member wishes to speak. I'll now proceed to the vote using the electronic system in front of you. Choose whether for, against, or abstain. Eighteen for, 7 abstentions, so I can confirm the motion is carried. Before I close the meeting, I would like to thank everyone for making this night special for me, and it's something I'll remember forever. It's a great pleasure that the Mayoress and I invite you to celebrate this mayor-making evening by joining us for a buffet and drinks at the back of the chamber. Once the meeting is closed, could attendees in the public gallery move to the side so the caretakers can remove the seating. With no further business, I declare this meeting closed at 8:12. Thank you.
Members, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of the Borough of Melton, Councillor Tim Webster.